Alright, this is probably the most important thing you can understand and learn when it comes to video, and that is how to get good quality audio. I know that might sound a little weird, and you're probably thinking, how is the most important thing in video? Audio. Well, let's say you were watching the most beautiful video in the world, but it had horrible sound. You probably wouldn't be interested in it, right? Here's an example of this. This is a commercial we shot in 6K. It has beautiful lighting, the set and costumes are on point, but I went in and distorted the audio so it sounds bad.
Wrong again, human. Last cam is only 20 bucks. 20 street tacos. 20 cup of noodles.
See how even though it was shot well, you don't really care to watch it? Now, here's the same clip but flipped. It has great audio, but now the video quality sucks.
Wise cam is only 20 bucks. 20 street tacos. 20 cup of noodles. Click this link now to get one on your porch in a couple days.
Much better, right? The jokes are landing, you know what product the commercial is trying to sell, and just the overall feeling is there. So the moral of the story is, you can have the most pretty footage on the face of the planet, but if your audio sucks, no one is gonna care to watch your video. Because you can always make poorly shot footage look better in the editing room, but audio on the other hand can't be manipulated as much. For the most part, you're kind of stuck with what you got. So this brings up the question, how do I go about getting great sound? In this video, we are gonna go over our top 5 tips for achieving cinematic audio. Tip number 1, shotgun placement. Let's talk about where to place the shotgun mic. The rule of thumb is to always put it as close as possible to the subject without getting it in frame. Like right now, my shotgun mic is right there, just a couple inches out of frame, up close and personal. This allows you to get the best possible result. For example, see how when I'm all the way back here, it doesn't sound very good, but when I'm up close, it sounds a lot better. See the difference? And plus I was a little blurry there, forgive that. Now, the shotgun shouldn't be pointed directly at the subject's mouth. It should be pointed more at their chest. There are 2 main reasons why this is helpful. When we speak, our chest gives off a sound as well. So if you pick up that sound along with the sound coming out of your subject's mouth, you'll get a richer, fuller sound. The next reason is, when people talk, they tend to move around. So if your subject leans forward and the mic is pointed at their mouth, you're gonna be miking the top of their head, which is obviously not ideal. I can't tell you how many times this has happened to us in the past. Moving on to tip number 2, lav placement. The lav placement is probably one of the hardest things to get right. A lot of people just use the stock clip and clip it to the outside of the people's clothing. But we don't like to do this because we feel like it takes away from the experience when you're watching the final video. So we use these little things called undercovers. Yes, I know, that's a super creative name. I didn't name it. But what it is you peel this thing off and stick this little cloth thing over the mic itself, and you stick it to the inside of the subject's shirt. But if you don't want to buy these things, you can always use a piece of tape. We always try to tape the mic between the last layer of clothing and their skin. This is because if you tape it between 2 pieces of clothing, it will 70% of the time sound really scratchy, like this. Sounds horrible, doesn't it? Don't you just love that? Although, if the subject you're filming is wearing a collared shirt, we have found good success by taping the lav mic to the inside of their collar. The main thing you want to keep in mind is you want to always look for places that will have minimal amounts of rubbing, and believe me, it is very tricky. That's why we always try to have some sort of backup audio in case it doesn't sound very good. And that brings us to tip number 3, backup audio. In most situations, we're always recording 2 sets of audio at the same time, one as the main audio and the other as a backup. Like you've already seen, I have a shotgun mic right here as my main audio source and a lav mic right here as my backup. We do this in case of one of the audio tracks ends up sounding bad, or when we get in the editing room we realize it dropped out and we didn't really notice it. It happens, believe me. And then as a second backup to this backup, we have the main source of audio going into camera A and then the backup into camera B. Again, this is in case of one of the camera files gets corrupted and we can't use it. Then we'll have a backup audio and footage to go along with it. Now, if you're going to be recording straight into an audio recorder, then this process will be a little bit different depending on what you buy. But with our specific audio recorder, it can re-record onto 2 different SD cards at once, in case one of them fails and we have backup. I know all these backups and backups of backups might seem a little bit excessive, but trust us, it is worth it. Because if you think about it, someone is paying you to do this job and do it well. So you don't really want to miss getting something that you need. Tip number 4, windy days. What do? Here are a couple options for you. The first one is this. It's called a dead cat because it's all furry, so it looks like a cat, I guess. Anyway, this helps block the wind noise from hitting the mic. Another thing you can do is flip this switch on your mic, if your mic has one, and it can do wonders for shooting in the wind. These 2 things can take your audio from sounding like this
La clavícula.
to going like this.
La clavícula.
Now, if you want to get really professional, you can use one of these things called a blimp. Most professional sound guys use these. If you've ever actually watched a TV show or a movie where the wind is going crazy around the actors and you wondered how are they getting good audio without picking up any wind noise, it's because of high pass filters, dead cats, or the blimps. Tip number 5, eliminate ambient noise. Okay, the idea behind this tip is to eliminate any extra noises in the room. I know that might sound pretty obvious, but more often than not, this is the last thing that is talked about. Like right now, it's the last tip. Anyway, so before you start filming, take a moment and listen. Try to notice if you can hear any random ambient noises. Then do your best to eliminate those sounds. If it's an appliance, turn it off. If it's something you can't turn off, maybe consider moving to a different location. It might be something you have to try to dampen it by putting blankets or other things over what's making the noise. The next thing to look for is if the room you're shooting in has an echo. If it does, a way to get rid of the echo is by stringing up one of these. It's called a Fernie pad, short for furniture pad. We get really creative in the film world with our nicknames. Anyway, you can string one of these up between a couple of light stands and place them around your subject. This can help dampen an echo, much like this. Yep. There's a person in there. We use this to film voiceovers when we really need it to be quiet. Now sometimes that might be a little much, and all you need to do is place a Fernie pad on the ground underneath the subject. Mainly, just do whatever you need to make the audio sound good. For more tips and tricks just like this, check out filmcreatorpro.com. And for a limited time only, we are giving away 10 high quality stock clips completely free. So go to Film Creator Pro right now and sign up. See you in there.